Well, hello everybody. This is day 16 of the 22 push-up challenge. Today I'm taking a trip down to Escondido. I'm taking the Sprinter, so I'm taking advantage of the opportunity to do it out here in public. I wrote something down inspired by yesterday's article about how some certain people already have pre-existing conditions prior to joining the military, and how they're not really into looking at what the causes of war is. So I went and did my own research, and I had a few questions that I wrote down myself. For example, what motivates a person to commit suicide, violent crimes, or sexual assault? What is happening psychologically in a person's mind when contemplating suicide, violent crimes, or sexual assault? Are some people who are prone to violence or committing violence fallen into depression or committing sexual assault more likely to join the military? What effects does a traumatic experience cause in a normally functioning person, mentally and sound and healthy? And what is the average age of people enlisting in the military, and at what stage of their mental development are they? In the past, how has humanity reacted to the horrors of war? How does mental conditioning and programming affect the mind of a developing human brain? For example, sex, violence, hate, war, and murder on TV and video games and movies. What is life like for a person dealing with PTSD? Causes of PTSD. What causes PTSD is a question. And are sociopaths serving in the military? Do they fall through the cracks? Is it something that interests them? What's the psychology behind that? So those are kind of like questions that I've made myself that I'm gonna try to answer through the rest of the challenge. And let's see. And I wrote something from a website that I found online. I Google searched this: what effects does war have on the human brain? So I found this, and it goes like this: traumatic stress can be associated with lasting changes in the brain areas, the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. Traumatic stress is associated with increased cortisol and norepinephrine responses subsequent to subsequent stressors. Antidepressants, that's the medication given by the VA, have effects on the hippocampus that counteract the effects of stress. Findings from animal studies have been extended to patients with PTSD, showing smaller hippocampal and anterior cingulate volumes, increased medial prefrontal anterior cingulate volumes, increased amygdala function, and decreased medial prefrontal anterior cingulate function. So what they're talking about here is what happens in the brain. That gray matter stuff that splatters when a bullet goes through it, or when a track vehicle runs over it. That's what they're talking about, the brain, and what happens in it. The neurochemicals that are being released during a traumatic experience. In addition, patients with PTSD, those are returning vets, for example, show increased cortisol and norepinephrine responses to stress. Understanding these normal developmental changes is critical for determining the difference between normal development and pathology, and how normal development and pathology interact. Trauma at different stages of life will presumably have different effects on the brain development. Neurobiology of PTSD. PTSD is characterized by specific symptoms, including intrusive thoughts, hyperarousal, flashbacks, nightmares, and sleep disturbances, changes in memory and concentration, and startle responses. Symptoms of PTSD are hypothesized to represent a behavioral manifestation of stress, induced changes in brain structure and function. Stress results in acute and chronic changes in neurochemical systems and specific brain regions, which result in long-term changes in the brain circuits involved in the stress response. Brain regions that are felt to play an important role in PTSD include the hippocampus, the amygdala, and the medial prefrontal cortex. The cortisol and norepinephrine are two neurochemical systems that are critical in the stress response. Traumatic stressors such as early trauma can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder, which affects about 8% of Americans at some time in their lives, as well as depression, substance abuse, dissociation, personality disorder, and health problems. For many trauma victims, for example, victims of rape, victims of war, victims of broken homes, PTSD can be a lifelong problem. The President's New Freedom Commission report highlights the importance of providing services for mental disorder related to early trauma. However, the development of effective treatments is limited by gaps in knowledge about the underlying neurobiological mechanisms that mediate symptoms of trauma-related disorders like PTSD. So if this was something related to the military-industrial complex, they'd be pouring trillions of dollars, but since it is not, there's gaps in knowledge about the underlying problem of PTSD. So this paper reviews preclinical and clinical studies of traumatic stress on the brain. You can find this article on www.ncbi.nalm.nih.gov. To understand how traumatic stress occurring at different stages of the developing brain, it is useful to review normal brain development. The normal human brain undergoes changes in structure and function across the lifespan from early childhood to late life. Okay, and I found this article published on the National Institute of Health's website. The paper is called Traumatic Stress Effect on the Brain, NCBI, and that's www.ncbi.nih.gov. And you can also find it by Google searching studies showing the effects of the trauma of war on the human brain. If you're truly interested in knowing why veterans are committing suicide, this is one way to find out, doing your research. So for the rest of my challenge, I will be answering the questions that I posed early in the video. And these are some of the solutions that I've came up with. Maybe it might not be for everybody, but I think it's positive to show also some solutions. And one of them, I'd say exercise. When negative thoughts flood our mind, it may become extremely difficult to shake them off or even to pull yourself out of bed. It drains all your energy, it consumes you from within. That's the more reason to pull yourself together and refuse to be a victim of your condition. Run, jump, hop, dance, move around. Staying in one spot makes our mind go idle. Exercise will consume the energy you would normally use to deal with depression, the depression monster. Connect with family. Like it or not, they are what we have. And talk to them, let them know how you're doing. If you can't talk to family, talk to friends, strangers, and basically anyone. Talk to me. Travel. You don't need tons of money to go to the next town, go hiking to the mountains. Take the bus, take the train, a bike, walk. Just go somewhere. See the world, record it, laugh at it, visit friends who are across the world. Have fun. Go out dancing, socializing. Go out at night with friends, make new ones, do karaoke, make a fool of yourself and laugh at it in a healthy way. Have sex, make love, connect, and for the and share yourself with kindred spirits. It's a healthy way for the mind, body, and soul. And let's see, make videos of yourself, talk to yourself. You're your best listener. Love yourself. Sounds cliche and weird. How do you love yourself? Well, look at yourself in the mirror and fall in love with the person you see in front of you. If you see something you don't like, change it. And if you don't mind, then who cares, right? So eat healthy. Realize that much of the food we eat is contaminated with toxins. Some of us are sensitive to those toxins. They have a negative effect on our mental health and mental and physical health. And research. Inform yourself. Do your own research on psychology and mental health. There are many forums out there discussing the very thing you're thinking about. It's free. So use your phone. It's also good for looking up info. No, I don't, ma'am. So here's my push-ups, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Alright, that was day 16. Nothing weird about a guy doing push-ups in public. I'll see you guys tomorrow on day 17. Peace.